Today I will be telling you the story of the biggest basket in the world. Come join me. Hi everyone, I'm Heidi. I'm a Malaysian author and welcome back. Today I will be telling you a very special story called The Biggest Basket in the World. This story is very special because it is about a magical talking object. Something we don't really see in our local fairy tales and folk tales. I haven't really come across stories of magical inanimate objects. There are many stories of magical inanimate objects in Western fairy tales and folk tales, but for the longest time, I couldn't find any in our culture. So I was very excited when I found this one because it was about a talking knife. How wonderful is that? I'm really excited to tell you the story, so sit back, relax, chill while I tell you the tale of the biggest basket in the world. Once there was a girl who was so lazy, she couldn't even be bothered to wash her face or clean her teeth or brush her hair. Of course, she never helped out around the house, preferring instead to daydream and stare at the clouds all day. As the days, weeks, months, and years passed by, the girl grew into a young woman. And yet she was still lazy. She was literally the laziest girl in the world. Her parents, who were getting old and who were very poor, decided that they couldn't afford to keep their daughter any longer. She was becoming a burden on the family. If she cannot be useful to the family, then she must go, said the father. The mother, who was rather fond of the girl, was sad, but she reluctantly agreed. They knew they could no longer afford to keep such a lazy girl. The next day, the father brought the girl to the other side of the village, near the river, where he had built her a small hut, a small house to live in. This is your new house, daughter. There's some food and water, and we brought your clothes and other things that you might need. You are almost an adult now, and you will have to fend for yourself. The girl understood. She was sad, of course, to leave her home. She would have, of course, preferred to stay with her parents where, she didn't have to do anything. But she understood that she was a burden on her family. And she was grateful that at least she had a roof over her head. Take this, said her father, and he gave her a big knife. Use this to protect yourself. The girl took the big knife and entered her new home, and since it was already late and she didn't know what else to do, she went to sleep. The next morning, the girl was awoken by a loud voice. Girl, it's time to wake up. She sat up and looked around, but there was no one in the house. Who are you? Are you a ghost? She asked in a frightened voice. I am most certainly not a ghost, you silly girl. Now get up. The sun is high and there's much to do, answered the voice. The girl looked around once more, and to her surprise, she found that the voice had come from the big knife that her father had given to her. Big knife? Is that you? How is it possible that you are speaking to me? Get up. The sun is already high in the sky and there's a lot to do. First, you must go to the river and wash yourself. Do it now, ordered the big knife. And since the girl had nothing better to do, she did as she was told. She went down to the river and she washed her face, she washed herself, and to her surprise, she found that it was quite nice to be clean. Now you must clean your teeth and brush your hair, ordered Big Knife. And since the girl had nothing better to do, she did as she was told. She cleaned her teeth until it was gleaming white, and she brushed her hair until it was shiny and soft. Very good, said Big Knife. Now you must wash all your clothes and clean your house. And once again, since the girl had nothing better to do, she decided to do as she was told. She started washing her clothes, she cleaned her house, she scrubbed the floors, and to her surprise, she found that it was nice having clean clothes to wear and living in a clean house. Very good, said Big Knife. Now I want you to go down to the river and use me to cut up the pandan leaves. We will be weaving the biggest basket in the world. A basket? Said the girl. But I don't know how to weave a basket, she said. Of course you don't, said Big Knife. You have been a lazy child all your life and have learned nothing useful. Don't worry, I will show you how to weave a basket. Once again, since the girl had nothing better to do, she decided to do as she was told. She went down to the river, she picked some pandan leaves, and she used a knife to strip the leaves. Big Knife then showed the girl how to use fire to clean and whiten the leaves. And after that, Big Knife taught the girl how to weave a basket. The girl worked on her basket every day. At first, she worked inside her house, but soon the basket was too big for her house, so she worked outside the house. And very soon the basket became even bigger than her house. "What are we going to do with this enormous basket?" asked the girl. "I will use this basket to find you a good husband," replied Big Knife. The next day, Big Knife told the girl that he was going to town. In town, Big Knife went to the palace to speak to the king and his son, the prince, who was at that moment, coincidentally, looking for a wife. "I hear you're looking for a wife," said Big Knife. "Yes, I am, but not just any wife," replied the prince. "I am looking for someone who is hardworking. Do you know anyone?" "I know the perfect person," said Big Knife. "Ask your servants to prepare a huge feast. You should prepare mountains and mountains of food, and I will go and fetch your wife." The prince ordered his servants to prepare a huge feast for his wedding. Soon the food was ready, but there was so much food that it could not fit in any of the baskets. "How will we take all this food down to the wedding feast?" said the prince. Just then, Big Knife arrived and said, "Do not worry, someone has woven the biggest basket in the world." The prince was surprised to see the biggest basket in the world. The person who had made this basket must be very hardworking, thought the prince to himself. "Tell me, Big Knife, who has made this basket? I would like to marry her," said the prince. "Why, it's your bride, of course," replied Big Knife, and he presented the girl, who was no longer the laziest girl in the world. In fact, her dress was sparkling clean, and her face and hair shone brightly under the sun. The girl was no longer the laziest girl in the world, for she had woven the biggest basket in the world. The end. I found this story in a very old book called Tangga Tales, a collection of Malay folk tales, published by Oxford University Press in 1952. So Tangga means stairs or steps. So in the old-style Malay houses in the village, you usually have a tangga or steps going up to the house, and that's where people like to sit and tell stories. So in the book, the grandmother sits on the tangga, the stairs, to tell her stories to her grandchildren. I was initially drawn to the story because of what I said earlier. It was about a talking inanimate object, the talking magical knife. Like I mentioned before, it's quite rare to find stories of magical talking objects in Nusantara fairy tales. I rarely come across it. But if you have, please do let me know. I'd love to discover more of these stories. So I was initially attracted to this story because of the talking object. However, there is more to this story than this magical talking knife. This story is essentially about transformation. Transformation through our deeds and our own hard work. Unlike most fairy tales, the protagonist in this story is not perfect. She's not complete or fully formed. When we meet her, we are basically told she is the laziest girl in the world. She's just this ordinary person, and she's quite relatable because she's lazy. And of course, at some point in our lives, all of us feel quite lazy. Unfortunately, this girl is just too lazy for her own good. It is actually detrimental to her health and her well-being. This trait is self-damaging and could lead her down a problematic path in the future. But all is not lost because she has been given a gift by her parents, which is a big knife. And to me, this big knife sort of represents a self-regulatory instinct. Big Knife is kind of like our sense of self-regulation, and he does two things. Firstly, he motivates, he almost bullies her into improving herself, and he does this in different ways. Firstly, he does so by demanding that she takes care of her own personal body, her own personal hygiene. Personal hygiene is important. So he tells her, go down to the river, wash yourself. And then he tells her to wash her clothes and clean her environment, her home. when you feel good about yourself, you're more motivated to take steps in improving the other aspects of your life. The second way that Big Knife helps her is by teaching her skills and by instilling discipline and good working habits or ethics. So by working on her basket every single day, she has turned it into a good habit and she has improved herself. I like the story because the emphasis is on the girl's industriousness, her hard work, and her beauty, in fact, comes as a result of her hard work and taking the time to care for herself. So this story is really about transformation. This lazy girl manages, with the magical help of Big Knife, to transform her own appearance, and as a result, she has improved her self-esteem and her self-confidence. Not only that, she has learned a useful skill and is successful in weaving the biggest basket in the world. The story could have stopped there and it would be just fine because we've seen this transformation of the girl from being very lazy to being incredibly industrious. However, the story goes on. It delves deeper into things. Once the girl has achieved her goal of weaving the biggest basket in the world, her magical helper, Big Knife, takes one step further. He is proactive. He goes out to find her a suitable mate, and not just any mate. He finds her the best mate possible, and that is the prince. So Big Knife goes to town in order to showcase, in order to market this girl's abilities. I really love this because this is not your typical fairy tale where the girl is simply waiting for her Prince Charming to come. Here, her magical helper actually goes out of his way to showcase the girl's abilities. You know, you could be the best basket weaver in the world, but if no one knows about it, nothing will happen, nothing will change. So Big Knife knows this and he goes out and he tries to find the girl the best mate possible. He markets her ability so that she comes to the attention of the prince. So this is quite an encouraging story for everyone. Not everyone is born rich or beautiful. Not everyone has advantages and luck. But if we can follow the example of the girl in the story, if we can work hard, if we can take steps to learn and to improve ourselves, and in addition, if we take proactive steps to market our skills and ourselves, we can do anything. That's quite a powerful and motivating message. So what did you think of this story? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Please leave a comment down below. Please like and subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed this video, and please do share this video with your friends and family and support me in my mission to spread these Nusantara fairy tales out there. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.